Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Generational Turnaround Podcast, where we seek the truth and then we bring you the proof. And we bring you the proof with our amazing guests, our guests who's tried and tested and they have solutions, not what they heard, but what they've been through. And tonight, you all know I've been counting down to the GT Summit. Well, we down to the last 2 days, not even a whole 2 days. And I have asked my event coordinator who, let me tell y'all, she is a speaker, but she stepped down to help me. So she's a event coordinator slash speaker and so much more. And then I have my speaker, my friend, Consuelo Swaylo Hall. And and look, she agreed to come on and hang out with me for an hour. So Sherri and Swaylo, as we so affectionately call her, and she's gonna tell you what that Swaylo stands for. So, uh, Sherri, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for that, Miss Judy, event coordinator. I think I like the sound of that. So, but thank you. I'm Sherri Cook. I'm the chief creative visionary of Keon Works, which stands for Keeping Each Other Motivated Works. I believe that encouraging you encourages me, and I wanted you to bring the world the best of you and not what's left of you. So, I'm a speaker and author, and I wear so many different hats. I even and I'm an actress. I did a little movie, Miss Judy, a few weeks ago, and a couple of days ago, I was on the film set. So yes, I wear a lot of many hats. But my whole goal in Keon Works is to keep people encouraged through life, and that's through facilitation and through the book that I wrote. One day she woke up, trusting the process. So thank you for having me.
What? Now that's one of my bucket lists that hadn't come true yet, but to act, to
Yeah.
be an actress. And
Mm-hmm.
y'all know God's not through with me yet.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
Sway
right.
Low, unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. My name is Consuelo, aka Swaylo. I used to be an electronics repair tech slash manufacturer, but life happened. Swaylo, situations will alter your life's outlook. So I became disabled, was trying to figure out what direction and which direction, my life was going, how God wanted me to live my life after the two car accidents, and created Swaylo on Clubhouse, and been doing that for a little bit over 2 years now, which is self-care, self-love, take your life back. Because again, situations will alter your life's outlook. We were taught one thing, but when life happens, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not working for me. Now I have to deprogram, reprogram, figure out what works for me before I lose my mind and figure out that life isn't that hard. I just have to learn what works for me. So that's me. Life, just love, care, take your life back, get your life back. And it's okay not to be okay. So that's me, Swaylo.
I want you to say what Swalo stands for one more time, because said it kind of fast, and I want everybody to hear.
Yes, ma'am. Swaylo stands for situations will alter your life's outlook. Because we were taught one thing, and then when life happens, we have to alter everything that we know, everything that we're used to, and figure out what works for us.
And that's it in a nutshell. Most people who have not found a purpose or going through all kind of situation, they need that that word right there. Situation will alter your life outlook. And if they don't have God, if they don't have that fulfillment, that no, even though nobody may not be here right this moment with me, God never leaves, never forsake me. Sherri, now I know, I know that you have been through some situations and circumstances, and I'm not trying to get too personal, but everybody needs to know that everybody up here has been through and don't look like what they've been through. And so when we have generational turnaround, that's also what we mean. So Sherri, can you give us a little bit?
Yeah. I think that generational turnaround is so important because, one, I want to share with the many generations that if we pay attention to life, that nothing has really changed except for technology, that life still continues to happen. Um, Life just happens, tragedy happens, you know, calculated circumstances happen, things you weren't expecting to happen. Life has just been lifing, right? And the only thing that's really changed is the technology. And so sometimes if we would learn to just listen to one another, really communicate well with one another instead of always trying to be at each other, that you don't know what I'm going through and you don't understand what I'm experiencing and you have no clue because you don't get it. You're right. There may be some things when it comes to technology that I may not always be able to grasp as fast as maybe the younger generation. But what I can tell you that is nothing that what has not changed is anxieties, depressions, right? Thoughts of who am I? What am I here for? What am I doing? Why did this have to happen to me? What in the world did I do to this happen to me? Right? Diagnoses, health diagnosis, 35 and being diagnosed with asthma. You know what I mean? 16 years old and being jumped by three men, and I had no clue that it was what I was walking myself into. Wrong place, wrong time, right? So you just never know. Nothing's really changed except for technology, right? And so we have to be very careful about how we communicate with each other in the different generations. And that's really what I love about this conversation, so that we can also get to our younger generation and say, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to express and share with you some of the experiences and things that have happened to me. And I've survived. I think that's why we survive, right? Because God wants us to be able to share our experiences, what we learned, so that someone else won't have to experience it, you know? And if we could get to that point to really just communicating and want to hear the wisdom of others, I can learn from you just like you can learn from me, you know? And so that's why it's important to me to just be involved. But yeah, life has always been happening for me, you know? And even at 40, what am I, 49 now? Okay, I got to remember that. But yeah, even in my 40s, to get into a relationship that ended up being a situationship where I had to leave my home, right? And everything in it to reestablish my life all over again. So see, life sometimes just be lifing, right? And we just have to pick up the pieces and continue to move forward. And like the saying says, y'all, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so true, you know? So, yeah. Can you, Miss Judy?
Thank y'all. I'm back. Just this morning, God was telling me to talk about your speech, the words that you say. And as most more people are saying what does not benefit them, and they speaking that word to others in their home, outside their home, friends, people that they don't even know. Now, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And we want to speak powerful, powerful words to our loved ones, especially so that they will continue to believe. So I'm going to talk to Swaylo about this self-care. Yeah, self-love.
Yes, ma'am. It's very important. So how self-care, self-love actually came about is from my mother. Because my mother and I both were diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks apart from each other. And they gave her 3 months, they gave me 2 years. And in 3 months, exactly 3 months, I was making funeral arrangements for my mother. And it's because she gave up on life. And when I started looking back, because it's been almost 13 years now since I've been without her. But when I started looking back at her life and I was going through her medication, I was like, I knew she was depressed, but I didn't know she was severely depressed as she was. Looking back at her life, understanding how my grandmother controlled my mother's life to misery, to where she couldn't be happy herself. And she pretended to be happy, but she didn't know how to be happy. And when I realized what happened to my family, because I was always told that my family was dysfunctional. And then when I moved away, and I left home when I was 15, but when I started looking at everything, I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's because, and I listened to my mother when she said, when I started having children, my life stopped. And I was like, why did your life stop? Because you started having children. And she only had two of us, and I'm the youngest. So she was like, I couldn't do anything but go to work, come home, take care of y'all. Go to work, come home, and take care of y'all. And I was like, that's not living. That's not a life. So I was like, well, couldn't you juggle how to, do some, take care of you and take care of us? She was like, no, it's not possible. And when I looked at it, it's because she wasn't given the right tools to learn how to love herself and love us. So that's where the self-care awareness came about because I watched my mother. And like I said, this is the strongest woman I've seen. She took care of two daughters by herself, well, with the help of God and my grandmother, of course. But no matter what the weather was like, she went to work. No matter how sick she went to work with double pneumonia in both of her lungs, had a car accident, and she was still slumped over going to work. And that's why I was like, how could you give up? How could you give up so easily? And I get it, because when you don't have the moral support from your family that you should, because everybody's always has their hand out, gimme, 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 gimme. But it's like, help, I'm drowning in my own misery. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And every time I turned around, my grandmother was talking about my mother. You're drinking, you're doing this, then I'm like, but wait a minute, you used to be an alcoholic. This whole family is nothing but a bunch of drunks, and because you are sober now, you're bashing and badgering my mother. So self-care awareness, just be aware of who you are. Be aware what makes you happy. Be aware that without God, who cares what other people think? Because other people's opinion, that's just what that is. It's not gonna keep us from anything. But I do know this. The one thing that I can say that other people's opinion can do, it can drive us to a deep depression, which causes anxiety and everything else. And that's not why God put us on this earth. He didn't put us on this earth to walk around and self-doubt and be depressed all of the time just because other people don't think highly of themselves or they don't know what they are capable of doing. Love yourself enough. And that's where the self-care awareness comes from, because my mother and again, I left home when I was 15. And I always told my mother from the age, I think I was 6, 7 years old, because I had to start driving when I was 8. But I remember at the age of 7 for sure, telling my mother, stop saying I can't. You always say I can't, but you can. You can, you can, you can. And she would always say, no, I can't, I can't. But the reason why she was saying I can't is because that's what her mother told her. Regardless of what the Bible said, and regardless of what the preacher said in church, you can do all things through Christ. When she got home, mama said, no, you can't do this because I brought you in this world and I'll take you out. Do as I say, not as I do. So that's where the self-love, the self-awareness, and taking your life back came from.
Well, how do you, when you talk about generational turnaround, right now, that's to me what you were talking about. Generational turnaround from your grandmother to your mother, then you. And I know now everybody doesn't know this about you, Swallow, that you're out there in those streets and I don't want to use the word picking up, but you're available to people you don't even know, people that a lot of people wouldn't think, would no way would they have anything to do with, out of fear. But
Yeah.
you're out there turning around generations, and you do have a daughter. Can you tell us about her?
Well, my niece. You talking about my niece? But no, no, actually, my son, that's my son you're talking about. My son is 33. So yes. Okay, so turning the generation around is that's what I do intentionally. I get up and I go out and I look for people. I really do. I look for people that have their head down, or look for people that if they see me, it's like, well, it's something in you, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, here we go. And that's just something to, start the conversation. Um, and that's on my good days or bad days. But my son, okay, so my son, he's, oh my God, he's something else. He's a character. He's 33. And wow, that young man he came to my life. Well, hold on, let me back up. He was taken away from me at the age of 8. It was some things going on, but he was taken away from me, and I still went behind everyone's back to spend time with him because I knew of his situation. I'm the village parent. I do all of those things for all of the kids, especially when I see the dysfunction, because I come from a dysfunctional family. Well, at the age when he turned 18, 19, he called and he was saying thank you, for doing the things that I did, spending time with him and everything. And he told everyone finally, she was still coming around, and they got a little upset saying, I can't believe you were going behind my back. You were, still coming to see him. But the respect that he has for me made me understand how serious and how critical and crucial being in a child's life. And even though I was a child myself and I know how I felt, but when a child comes to you and tell you thank you because everyone else, they did this or they did that, and you were the only one that, you showed me certain things that other people didn't show me. Now that's a wonderful thing. That is a wonderful thing. We talk, we bump heads, and even when he comes to me and he says, you know what, I'm a man, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm like, you know what, son, I love you. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to give you right back to God, and I'm going to pray for you. And when you get ready, you just know my phone number's been the same for well over 20 years. You can always call me. You will always have this phone number. And even if you need somewhere to stay, you can always come here to stay. But I'm going to tell you, when I needed any of those kids that I helped raise, none of them were there for me. And I'm okay with that. The reason why I'm okay with that is because people come to you for a reason. When they come to you, that means they're not as strong as you. So I can't expect for people that I help, I can't expect for me to go to them because they came to me. So what I have to do is find a team that's a little bit stronger than me, the team that's going to say, hey, let me pull you out of this. And that's what I'm teaching my son as well. So, but yeah, he's a character. He's a grown man. He takes care of his own kids. He has multiple baby mamas, but he has custody of some of his own. And his thing is, I'm gonna take care of mine because I don't want anyone else. Now, I can't say this. At one point, he called and he was talking about committing suicide. He was, and I told him, I said, son, we're gonna talk about this. I said, because I know how you are and I know who you are. And I know this is going to be played for everyone, and I want everybody to listen to what I'm about to say, because if someone commits suicide and they are a parent, just remember, and this is what I told my son, you will not be there to protect your kids if something or when something happens, because you will no longer be here and someone else will have that hand on your child, whether it's good, bad, or whether you like it or not. You have no more say in it because you decided you didn't want the responsibility of being a parent anymore. So yeah, so right now I'm giving him back to God, letting him bump his head a little bit, and then every morning
All
I'm like,
right.
please,
That's
please.
right. That's how it should be,
That's
Swallow.
right.
That's how it should be. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And now I got to go back over here to Sherri. Sherri, now I know that you involved with Keon Works, and tell me what it stands for.
Keeping each other motivated works.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Mhm.
what. Because when I was listening to Swallow, I was thinking about keeping it, keeping everyone,
Some people say everyone, but it's keeping each other
keeping
motivated.
each other motivated. Yes, and what's the W?
Works.
Works. It does
It
work. Okay,
does work.
okay. So tell us why that saying and what significance does that have to generational turnaround, or does it?
Oh my goodness, it does. It definitely does. Swalo, when you were sharing about your mom and the hustle and bustle of life, the day in, the day out, right? I remember praying and asking God for about a year. I remember at the apartment we were living at, and every night I would go to bed and I'd be like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? What am I here for? I love being mommy, but I know it's got to be something more to life than just waking up in the morning, rushing the kids out, taking them to school, doing this routine, picking them up from school, getting them to activities. We come home and we just do it all over again. Like, God, is there something more to life than this? And I remember asking, and I would cry myself to sleep sometimes, just wondering, why am I here though? You know, I knew it had to be more than mommy. And so when you were sharing about your mom, I could have so easily been swept into that abyss because things seemed like they were getting darker. I just didn't know how I was supposed to move. I just knew I had to be there for these babies, you know, and I wanted to be there for these babies. So everything I poured myself into was really regarding them. And I had totally lost me. And so keeping each other motivated comes from once I started to change my network, it began to change my mindset. And once my mindset began to change, I began to change my response. And that was in every area of my life. I call that the 3 C's. It's in my book. Um, and it's the 3 simple C's to life. And I realized that once I started doing that, I started seeing things a little bit differently. People like Swalo, what you were sharing, I had people around me that were kind of pouring into me just as much as I was kind of pouring into them, and it seemed like, okay, I get it. I think I understand now, And so I think that this fits in with generational turnaround because for so many years, my mom's generation were trying to make up for some of the experiences that their parents had to live through. Their parents had to live through a segregated, time, and many things were not an opportunities they didn't have. So then my mom came around and she wanted to kind of make up for that time, and make up for those things and opportunities that we didn't have. And we ended up being like a first of everything. Oh my goodness, you're about to do this, and it's the first time we've ever been able to do this, and this is the right. Our parents bought their homes so much younger than their parents because their parents weren't able to, right, or weren't able to do it until later in life because of redlining and all. I mean, just a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so, I think that as the generations and the opportunities in life grow, like I said earlier, life still is the same. It's just happening differently. And if we would just really just communicate more, and maybe if mom had shared more of her hurts with me, maybe she wouldn't have been so worried about everything, so stressed about everything, and sometimes I would be like you, Swayla. I'd be like, Mommy, why are you not happy? What's wrong? Why are you not happy? Like, why are you mad? You know what I mean? Not realizing that she had maybe seen way more than I had ever seen. She had probably experienced way more than what I had experienced, in life, and just never had that opportunity to talk to anybody or felt comfortable to talk to anybody, And so once I really changed my, network of people that I was around, and I started to really understand life and what it really meant and what God really has us here for. Everybody has a purpose. You mean me? I thought I was supposed to just be here to take care of these twins and these kids like my mom took care of me, and made a way for me, not realizing that she was, minimizing her dreams because she was just trying to take care of me, and her parents were trying to take care of them through the struggle, and they took care. So you see how it just continues to repeat itself. And I'm supposed to just take care of my children and make it happen, not realizing that we're here for a purpose. And everybody has it. Mine just didn't happen to be bacon. I don't like to bake. There's some people that are amazing bakers, right? And they make wonderful cakes and they make these elaborate, beautiful cakes. That is not my calling, okay? So everybody has a purpose. And when you tap into that purpose, right? By making sure that you're surrounded by a network of people that can really pour into you, you begin to see life differently. Like I get it. I get it. So that's how I think that
Let,
it
let
helps.
me let me stop you now. I'm gonna ask you
Mm-hmm.
something. Okay, so we've got these young people,
Mm-hmm.
and they are feeling like having content and technology and all of this is truly their purpose. They believe that you can't tell them that this is not going to always be, and they are not going to always be able to put the content on podcasts or lives, and they're making big money doing this right now, right now. But I don't think they're thinking about purpose and what they are supposed to, by God, develop. And
Yeah.
so What do we do to not change their minds on that, but encourage them to think a little more on who they are and why they're here.
This is the best question ever. It really is. This because I think this is a parent's regular struggle with the children nowadays with the technology and content. Sarah Jakes Roberts did an amazing sermon on just this past Sunday, and it was titled "Content to Context," something like that. Content to context, and she was talking about the content. When you view the content for like 2 minutes of a reel or 30 seconds of a reel, you're really not getting all of the context within that content, because the content won't even give you enough time to see what's really happening in people's lives. So you keep posting the facade of a content,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make it look real good, make it sound real good. Like, I'm good, everything is amazing. We're going to be winning. We're out here, we're winning. You see us, we're doing this. And you, right? But you don't even realize that behind the scenes and all of that context that you're missing and not seeing in people's lives, the Kardashians, you're not seeing when they're having their moments of arguments and disagreements, and divorce happens, and life just keeps on happening, and they keep on having babies, and babies just keep... See, you don't see the behind the scenes of the unhappy when people are totally not happy with their life, and they're not happy with just how things are going on in their life. But the content will have you confused, that because you don't understand the context of their life.
And don't forget, they can
Yeah.
have a green screen just like we have.
You can, and listen, before we came on, Miss Judy, and like this, before we came on, I had my camera off, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I, because I was looking a whole hot mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Miss Judy, even though it was just me and you know,
Yeah.
I said, I'm getting myself together too. And Miss Judy was like, okay. And we were talking back and forth, but I had my camera off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to let you see me at my vulnerable, right? I don't want you to see me when I'm in my real state, when I'm just chilling, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, and then I turned on the camera after I put on my lipstick and everything, my earrings, and put the headband on, right? I did. So listen, the same is with the content. These
Mm-hmm.
children, the baby, if they could, and like I said, life is still lifing. So behind the scenes of content is a whole lot of context that the young people are missing. And if they would start applying and seeing how the context of their life is really happening behind the scenes versus what they post, maybe they'll start seeing the, like they tell us, being two-faced, because you're showing up one way,
Mm-hmm.
turn that camera off, and you still feeling like, right, like, oh, my life. Yeah, so they have to be careful not to get too caught up in just posting the content and the facade of what this world wide web will bring you.
Well, when I was over in at TikTok and I was talking to the
Mm-hmm.
young people, and they said they, life was okay. They okay, but before we got finished talking, it was anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
depression, and stress. Those words came out. They're competing against so many others in these lives, and it's not their life, but it's a facade. But you got to keep up the facade if you're going to stay in the game. And so we have to like get them to know that they are enough. They don't have to be that.
And you know
Don't.
what else? Define success for yourself, not for what the world tells you, this world wide web, social media, mama, daddy. Define success for you because it's going
Hmm.
to look different for everybody, you know?
Yes.
It's going to look
Yes.
different.
Well, let's want to get in on this, Swalo.
Oh, yes. Well,
Yes, ma'am. When I was growing up, they used to ask all the time, "What is your purpose? Do you know your purpose? Do you understand what your purpose is?" Because nobody's just brought into this world for no reason. Um, Again, I don't have my own biological children, but all of the kids that I have helped raise, I've asked that question, "What is your purpose?" And then it's like, "What are you talking about?" So now here I am trying to help these children understand that they do have a purpose, and it's not just to for the boys, it's not just to walk around, sell dope, make babies and whatever. And it's not for the girls not to just lay on their back, pop out babies and go shopping every weekend. That's not what it is. But the lesson of why we were created has been forgotten. Um, I want to say the people around my generation, that between 1970 and whatever, but like I said, all of those children that I've dealt with, they don't understand. It's like, why do you keep asking me what's my purpose? And I'm like, but what's okay? So you have talents. We all have talents. So God gave you a talent. So what's your talent? What are you gonna do with it? Oh, well, I can't do this because my mama said this or my grandmother said that, and that's where a lot of that the lack of is like. I mean, because y'all, I know people that have voices that can sing, but because it was quote unquote worldly songs that they wanted to sing, the family says, "Oh no, you can't do that. God's not going to bless you. You have to stop." So it's just asking the children, communicating with them about understanding what their purpose is, about teaching them. And then, like I said, I'm almost 50 myself, and when I go around people that and my village parents, people that help raise me, instill stuff in me, when I go back around them now, they'll say stuff like, "Well, how did you know you could make it this far? How did you know you could do this?" And I'm like, "Well, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Y'all had us in church every single Sunday, every Wednesday, Thursday, and all this other stuff. And now you're asking me, how did I know?" So where's your faith? You wanted to instill in me this religion or religious factor, but nobody talked about faith. And, without the faith and without knowing whose you are, and the only thing you have to do is trust and believe in God and yourself. No, let me back up. You have to trust in Jesus Christ and yourself, because everybody got a different God, and all these people keep saying God this, God that, and it's not the same one for me, because when they start talking about source, my Jesus is the creator of the sources. So yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and
Well,
talk.
okay, right there. Generational turnaround. GT Summit is about bridging the gap. And that's what you and Sherri just talked about. We bridging the gap. But before we can do anything, we have to know what made that gap and why it's so wide. But it's not going to be so wide. I mean, everybody's situation is not the same. I mean, the gap between me and my granddaughters are not that wide because they are open to discuss with me where they are and where they want to go. And if we can get that conversation out of our family, out of our friends, family, out of somebody that we just met that just attached themselves to us, because that gives us the opportunity when they see the God in us, because that's what they're seeing. That's that light that's shining that attracts them to us. So I want to, I want to, when we go Friday, because you are going to be the moderator of the first panel. Is that not right, Swalo?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and Sherri is your backup, back, front, side, up, down. She gonna make sure that uh, nothing will take you off the air. So you're gonna have plenty of time. But I want you to know that there's 4 young people that's gonna be, and well, 2 of them are moms. So you're gonna have some moms, you're gonna have some young people, and you're gonna have uh uh what should I call Dr. Tina and Anthony? They're panelists. Yeah.
Yes, panelists.
And
Mm-hmm.
they are the panelists.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to have a full what you call it? Shoot. We wanted to make
Conversation.
sure, yeah, everybody was represented.
Oh, every generation was
On,
represented. Uh-huh.
yes, on this panel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to put you on the spot, uh, Swalo, but are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Are
You
you
know,
ready?
this is like when I went to, of course, I was at Walmart today, went to go pick up an order, and I was finished with picking up the order. The young lady was finished putting everything in the car, and I was talking about the generational turnaround. I've been broadcasting everywhere I go about the generational turnaround.
Right?
We talked for about 35 minutes, just right there, and the one thing she said is exactly what you said. This young lady's not even 30 years old yet. I think she said she's 26, 25, 26. But the one thing she said to me, she says, ma'am, thank you. And I says, thank you for what? I says, why did everybody say thank you? And she says, because you listen. You don't try to make me see your way. You listen. And I said, because I said, we have the same thought process. We have the same beliefs, but then you go your way and I go mine. And I said, so that's how you meet people right where they are, unconditionally. But I also had to explain to her, once you learn to love yourself unconditionally, you learn to love others unconditionally the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with self. So if you don't love yourself the right way, you can't love anybody else. The same hate that you give is the hate that you have for yourself.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm like I said, that's why I keep saying I'm ready. I'm ready because it is. I shut down. I shut down this week. I shut everybody out, but I didn't. I shut all of the right people out, but I'm still going out being intentional. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the young lady that had the tattoo leukemia. Every time I walked in that store, what do you want today? What are you doing? And I never paid attention that she had the tattoo leukemia on her arm. And the other day when I saw it, I said, so does your body hurt all the time? And she says, oh my gosh, yes. And she said, why? I said, oh, well, I was diagnosed with leukemia, rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus a few years back. And I said, and my body just aches so bad. And we talked for about 25, 30 minutes. And now that hate that she was giving me,
Mm.
it's no more. And that's why I keep telling people, either you hate me or you love me. But if you hate me, you will soon love me because you're going to find out who I am. And out of everything that I've overcame in my life, God has brought me this far. He brought me from, through, and to for a reason. So I got to tell my story to give him the glory.
You see how simple life is?
Yeah.
You see how very simple life is that when you take down the barriers and take down the walls and just open our mouths and communicate.
And
When we
she
just communicate and have a conversation, you literally were able to break down that barrier, right?
Mhm.
And now have a relatable conversation. I love it.
And what
But the
about
thing,
what about the fact that now she saw you?
Yeah.
She saw you as someone who could relate to what she was going through.
and I
This,
also gave her my attorney's phone number to help her with some stuff as well. Just like I told her, I said, I have a lot of resources that can help you. But that's what I was telling her because she kept saying, I can't, I can't, I can't. And Miss Judy, you was talking about that. That's why our conversation was so long because I was like, young lady, the reason why your life is so hard, I said, because you keep speaking your own negativity into your own life. You keep speaking
Yeah.
your own pain into your own life. I said, if you want your life to be happy, if you want to be stress-free and peaceful, speak it. Speak it. You have to speak everything into existence. And she was like, well, I don't know. And of course, I had to show her this right here. Walk by faith, live by love. And she was like, what? I said, no, when you walk by faith and you live by love, you give that love. I said, your body won't hurt. And I said, I'm speaking from my own experience because I was in a wheelchair. I could not walk. I walk every single day now. So I just told her what worked for me. And she was like, well, I don't know people. Some people, they don't like when I talk about God. And I said, well, you got to stop being ashamed of who you
Mm,
from stuff through stuff because as long as we
mm,
have that shame and we don't want to tell our story, he's going to keep us like, oh, you don't want to tell people about me. Okay, let me sit you down
mm,
for a little bit until you understand. And again, my own story, I had to start telling my story for God to get the glory. Because when I went back to work, try to go back to work, was it last year before last, for about 2-3 months, God said, you still
mhm,
trying to do it your way. I didn't tell you to go back to work. I told you to tell people what I've done for you.
mhm,
So ended up back in the wheelchair using a cane, I think for about a month and a half, 2. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I said, God, it's me again. If this is what you want me to do, I surrender. And I've been telling my story to give him the glory. And don't get me wrong, I'm sitting in my wheelchair now because it's the most comfortable spot for me because of my back. But
yeah.
I don't roll around in this doggone wheelchair like I used to. I used to have to
mhm,
cook, sit down and cook. I couldn't even stand in my kitchen and cook, but I can now.
Because you, like you say, you gave God the glory and you recognize that all things, not some things, but all things come you, for your obedience. And what did you do? You
Mhm.
are obedient now.
That's
And
the
so
word,
that's
obedient.
your
Obedience.
obedience.
I hear people say sacrifice, but from my understanding, sacrificing hurts. Jesus Christ already sacrificed for all of our sins. So what are we sacrificing for? The only thing we have to do is be obedient, trust and believe in his word, understand what he said. And when people tell you you can't do it, just pray about it. Pray about it. Say, Lord, is this what you want me to do? Because I know these people, they want to say I'm crazy, but I'm gonna be crazy for you. So what do you want me to do? And that's it.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to have to stop winding this section down, but this is just a little tidbit of what you can expect on Friday and Saturday. Saturday is going to be a full day of
mm,
speakers, panels, and we have breakout rooms.
mhm.
Yes, and Miss, look, I got to say it, Miss Sherri right here, yeah, she is responsible for us having our own rooms so that you look when you go register and do that after we finish. Go register, and you're gonna have topics that you can. I'm gonna let Sherri talk. Sherri, tell them, Sherri.
Well, you still have time to register for the Generational Turnaround Summit. I believe there'll be a link maybe included. And if not here, you can definitely follow Miss Judy, follow Swaylo or me. We can definitely get you access to register for the Generational Turnaround Summit. It starts Friday at 6 p.m. and it's virtual. Okay. So you don't have any excuses not to be there. Literally, while you're sitting on your couch, eating your potato chips and drinking your soda, you can literally be participating in the generational turnaround. And then Saturday, we're going to meet right back virtually and we're going to meet there at 9 a.m. That's is that 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, right? I always get that mixed up. It's
Yes.
Central Standard. So it's
Mhm.
9 a.m. Central Standard Time this Saturday. And listen, you can do the same thing. You can literally be right there on your couch and participate in the conversation. So make sure that even after, if you don't feel like you have the time, or maybe you don't have the time, you may be already busy, but go ahead, forward the link out to others that may be interested in joining the conversation. We are looking for all generations, not just the millennials, not just Gen X, Gen Z, whoever. We want everybody. So make sure you forward out the link so that everyone can register. And once you register, you'll then receive an email with the links to join us Friday and Saturday. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. Let's have this conversation.
Thank you, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry, and how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, okay.
Did
So you can always find me. It's Sherri M. Cook with my middle name. But did you know there are a lot of Sherri Cooks out there? That's crazy. But yeah, I'm always Sherri M. Cook. And anytime that you put in the hashtag KEOM Works, which stands for Keeping Each Other Motivated Works, I literally will come up every platform, anything that I'm involved in, you'll see it. The hashtag is very unique to me. So yeah, definitely put in KEOM Works and you'll see and you can get in touch with me that way. Thank you, Miss Judy.
Suelo?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you for this, for everything. Well, right now, the only way that you get in touch with me is on Clubhouse. Clubhouse. I have two houses on Clubhouse, which is Swaylo, and it's spelled S period W period A period Y period L period L period O, which in that acronym is situations will alter your life's outlook. And then I also have a self awareness house on Clubhouse. And then, of course, you can find me on Instagram. And I'm gonna get this. I have to do something with this YouTube because I am starting my YouTube channel that will be up and running in the near future. So that's where you can find me. Not on Facebook. I'm telling people because people are going to Facebook looking for me. Those are my personal pictures that have been, that's my first Facebook account. And so, sorry, but not sorry. I will not accept people on Facebook. So, Instagram, Clubhouse, YouTube, but please not Facebook.
Right. No, I won't come to Facebook looking for you, that's for sure. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my extraordinary guest
Mm-hmm.
for saying yes to tonight, and for saying yes to the GT Summit. And we will be looking for all of you. And like I say, no matter if it's not Sherry, is Suelo, or me that says something that you resonate, come come on. There's 14 others,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And they're all across the board
Mm-hmm.
talking about different topics, but they're all aimed at generational turnaround. So good night, good night, good night. See you Friday.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Let me see if I can. Y'all know I always have trouble when it's time to go. I hate to go.
This is awesome. You know how to you stop the recording